Ian here, Mr. Cookfulness, in our third of the new series, and this time looking at baked beans. Lovely baked beans. Here's a can of baked beans. We've all got them. Probably just put them on toast, or maybe if you're feeling really impressive, put them in a stew or something, a cassoulet. Or you just have them and you don't know what the heck to do with them. But you can change them and make them really interesting. So I'm going to show you 3 dishes, starting with a simple one, getting a little bit more difficult as we go along. You'll know by now how it works. I like to start with just breathing, because you probably noticed I haven't taken a breath since I started speaking, which is never a good thing. So just calm down, and just because I'm on this, I'm sure you'll do the same thing when you're without a camera as I do. So just a few breaths, calm yourself down, and there we go, relax. Music. So what have I got on my Cookfulness playlist this time? Well, I have some classic Bruce Springsteen. Now, I never was a Bruce Springsteen fan until I found some of his live stuff that he does, and it's just brilliant. I really enjoy it. I don't like the shouty stuff, but some of it's really good. And we've also discovered that our 8-year-old daughter is a rock and roller. Who knew? But there you go. Just goes to show, find the music, find the dance. So what am I going to make? I'm going to start with some curried baked beans. Now, you can buy curried baked beans, but they're not, you want to make them yourself. So I've got a can of baked beans. I have some chili paste, I have some curry powder, I have some ginger paste, and I have some olive oil. And then I also have some salt and pepper. Now, these cans of baked beans, when they come with the thing on the top, they're great if your hands are working. If your hands aren't working, they're not great. Now, you've probably seen me use this before. It's the sort of one-hand can opener from Active Hand. You just put it on the top, press the button, spins round and opens it, and it's brilliant. So highly recommend getting one of them if you can. I'm going to save time. I'm just going to open it if I can with the hands. Yeah. There we go. Is there anything more satisfying than tipping baked beans out of the can? Probably. But right now, no. So I've got a whole can of super baked beans. In they go. Can is in. Okay, just baked beans. Next, chili powder. Now, this is medium. Remember, there's some ginger and some chili going in, but spice it up however you want, but don't put too much in. So I'm starting with 1 tablespoon, 2 tablespoons of curry powder goes in. Ginger. Now, I use all kinds of different types of ginger, everything from fresh through to the tin jars and these. So just a little squirt of ginger. It's about a teaspoon, and about the same of, or more, with the chili, and then just basically a little glug of olive oil, and just mix it up. And you'll think, oh, it looks a bit stodgy, but remember, these aren't cooked yet, so you've got to just warm them through. Now, the smell is just amazing, and these are just beans that have had a few spices put in them. So, if you can see that, they've changed completely the colour, they've changed the texture of the sauce has changed, and all we need to do now with this is put it in a pan and warm it up. Now, obviously, I'm sat at my table, so I will do that in a minute. I will warm them up and I'll bring them back and I'll show you a brilliant way to serve them. You can put them on toast, but I'm going to show you something different. Okay, I'm back in a minute. Right, now, curried beans. Here, put them in a little bowl and actually put them in the microwave, because you can do individual portions. The rest, if you've got them, keep them in a sealed container, keep them in the fridge, keep for a few days, it'd be great. So these ones, I've just heated them up, nice and pipey, smell amazing. So they're curried, so what best to serve them with? A poppadom, of course, a poppadom. So serve them, a few on top, spread them out on top of the poppadom. On its own, fine, a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, sound like Ainsley Harriott. A dollop of sour cream, you can use creme fraiche, you can use yogurt, whatever you like. Dollop of that on top. A bit of fresh coriander. Now I don't need all that, otherwise it'll be more green than bean. It's quite a good saying, more green than bean. And here is a beautiful little snack, lunch, starter, big one, main course, curried baked beans on a poppadom. I thank you very much. Hi, right, our second dish using baked beans is going to be a baked bean sausage roll. So it's got no sausage in it, but you'll see what it looks like using baked beans. So start with full can baked beans, in we go. Come on, you know you want to. Yeah. So can of baked beans, always a good starting point. Now next in, I've got some onion. Now this is just chopped white onion that I had that was frozen, because I find it a lot easier than trying to cut an onion. You can, if you want to use an onion, probably about 1/4 of an onion would be enough. You can put it in raw as long as it's defrosted, which this is. Or if you want to make it a little bit more interesting, you can brown the onion for a couple of minutes and then put it in. Just make sure it's cold when it goes in. So in goes the onion. Then grated cheese. So same amount of grated cheese as there was to onion. So you see these are exactly the same amounts. In that goes. You can use whatever cheese you like. You can use vegan cheese. Not blue cheese, I don't know whether that would work, but try it, you know, see what works for you. Spicy cheese would be lovely, I would imagine, in here. Then smoked paprika. So we need 1/2 teaspoon of smoked paprika. If it decides to come out. There you go, some in there, some in there. And then, obviously this makes it very non-vegan, but I've got 3 pieces of cooked bacon. Now you can buy these in the shops as sort of cooked strips. Bit of a luxury, yes, but they're brilliant on salads. They're already done, and they're also great in here. So all I'm going to do is literally just break it up into little chunks, because it's good, because it can just make it into little pieces. Then all we need, a bit of salt, a bit of pepper. Then give it a mix up. Now all you want really is to combine everything to a sort of squidgy mess, really. That's the best way I can describe it. And you can just see it's just literally all combined there. That's all you need to do. And then I'm just going to break an egg. This also makes it very non-vegan. Egg. Just going to give that a little whisk up. Now this is just to put on the pastry in a second. Now, I have a sheet of gluten-free puff pastry, which I am gluten-free, but obviously use normal puff pastry. And I've just basically got it into a shape. Doesn't matter what shape it is. Now, I don't know about you, but I find it very hard using one of these big fellas. Really a workout, and when you're in pain, it's really difficult. So I use this one. Now this one is actually I think it's one for children, but it's so much easier to handle. Okay, it takes a bit of time, but it's a lot easier to use. Or the third option is get someone else to do it for you. The fourth option, buy it ready rolled. A lot easier. So, all I'm going to do is cut these into half. And then, so I've got 2 sides, and then on each side, I'm just going to put like a row of the mix. Just enough so that I can fold it. Obviously don't overpack it, otherwise you won't be able to fold the thing over. Now, here, just make it into sort of looking a little bit like sausage shapes, sort of does. Then take your pieces, and fold them over. Once you've got them folded, now you can do this in a couple of ways. You can either just squidge them together in the middle, like this, so you squidge them at the top. You can go over. It's entirely up to you. Now what you'll find is, you'll find you've overfilled them, like I have here. And if you have, just take some out. There goes my doorbell. I'll be back in a minute. So you just fold them over, and you can either do them at the top, in the middle, or fold them at the side, and it doesn't matter what they look like. If they burst open, who cares, to be honest. Pastry brush, if you haven't got one, don't worry, just use a bit of kitchen paper to dampen it on. All it does, it just gives it a bit of a brownness, that's all. You can use milk, you can use a bit of butter, whatever you like. And these are rough and ready bean rolls, I guess. So these go into oven at 180, about 15 to 20 minutes, just keep an eye on them. And they should burst open and be absolutely fantastic. We'll see what they look like in a bit. Hi, right, final dish, baked bean burgers. Yep, the BBB. I don't know what is it, but there we go. So what are we going to use here? So I have a can of baked beans. Now you think I've gone crazy, but they're in a colander, and I'm just getting all of the tomatoey sauce out. And the reason I'm doing that is that obviously it'll make the burgers very wet, but also I'll give you a little tip what to do with that sauce a bit later on. So baked beans draining. In here I've got 40 grams of tortilla chips. Just plain tortilla chips. And all I'm going to do is crush those up. I've got a quarter of an onion, a white onion. I'm using it frozen again. I've got ground cumin, paprika, ground cinnamon, coriander, ginger, chilli, olive oil, and good old ketchup. Now it sounds like a lot, but it's not that difficult really once we get going. All you need to have is have everything ready for you when you're ready to go. So let's start with the tortilla chips. Now, if you've got good hands, you can give it a crush. If you haven't, use a masher and just give it a wallop. Because what you want to do is to break it into smallest pieces you can possibly get. Okay, if you want to give them a whizzaroo, you can do that. But as long as they're small enough, and actually using your hand is quite therapeutic. Because you don't really need to do a lot. Just give them a little rub through your fingers, you know, a little crinkly. You're not using a great deal of energy, but actually it's quite good exercise. Maybe I've invented a new thing. Tortilla chip rubbing. Who knew? So just give them a good old crunch. I'm sure this is wonderful to listen to. That's quite nice. Get them down as small as you can. Give them a good crunchy crunch. A little bit of texture is good, so you'll see I've got them to a reasonably small level, a bit like sort of small broken up cornflakes. Next goes in the beans that I've drained. So it's 1 can of beans goes in. And as I say, I'll show you something to do with the sauce a little bit. Next, let's start with the onion. So again, it's about a quarter of an onion. I've just used defrosted, chopped, diced onion, that's all you need. Next bit is some ground cumin. So we're looking at, where's my teaspoon gone? There it is. Half a teaspoon of ground cumin. Half a teaspoon of paprika. In fact, I'm going to take the lid off because it'll take ages otherwise. Half a teaspoon of paprika goes in. You could use smoked, but with all the flavours, it'll get a bit strange. Now, cinnamon, don't use too much, otherwise you'll end up with sort of mince pie tasting burgers. So, quarter of a teaspoon is more than enough. Coriander, ground coriander. So I'm using 1 full teaspoon of that. Then ginger, 1 squirt, in she goes. Chilli, 1 squirt, 2 squirts because I like them hot, and a tablespoon of olive oil, which is about that. It's a good guess. And last but by no means least, a squirt of the old faithful ketchup. Okay, then just mix it all up. Now you're thinking, oh my god, this looks a bit like it's never going to work. But what the tortilla chips do is that they make it, well, apart from crunchy, they also give you something to soak up some of the flavour and the liquid if you've got any left over. So all you want to do, once it's mixed and combined, give it a little squash. And we're giving it a squash just to get some of the beans mashed. Now we don't want all of them mashed. Keep some, because it's nice to have a little view of some of what's in there. Just give it a mash until you can feel it sort of turning into a bit of a sticky, combined, what would you call it, paste. It's a bit thicker than a paste. So once you've got it to that point, and you can see there, it's not coming off, that's a splodge, that's what you want. So, next thing is, excuse me, you've got to get your hands in. It's the only way. So grab a load, make a sort of patty size, give it a good squeeze and onto your board. Let's make 3. Now, if you think it's too wet, which it could be, because each baked bean has different, each tin has different levels of liquid in it, you could add a little bit of breadcrumbs, would work well. In fact, you could replace the tortillas with breadcrumbs if you wanted to. It's the same. Now, that's what we call cooking mess. This time I've come prepared with some. Now, if you can see these, they're holding their shape. Beautiful bean burgers. These, 180 for about 20 minutes. Just keep an eye on them because there is quite a bit of sort of sugars in the beans. They can burn. If you're using low-fat beans, it won't burn as much. You might need a little bit of extra flavour in there, that's all. Now, they're going to go in the oven. And I did say I'd do something with this sauce. So this baked bean juice is fine, heated up, but actually if you put this in a little saucepan, like a milk pan or something, on a very low heat, and just let it bubble very, very gently for about 20 minutes, it turns into the most fantastic burger relish. So you can literally just bubble it down. If you wanted to, you could add a little bit of barbecue seasoning or something, but actually, if you just eat that, let it go sticky, it's fantastic. Great thing to use. So, these are going to go in the oven. My sausage rolls, which aren't sausage, should come out in a minute. I will have everything ready to show you in, hopefully, 2 minutes. So there we have 3 dishes made from baked beans. First one, beautiful curried beans on a poppadom, sour cream, coriander, very nice. Last one, there you see the bean burger, and you can see that sauce is really thickened up once you heat it up. And then the last one, which is a big fella, there you can see the baked bean sausage. So 3 dishes, not too difficult, get a little bit harder as you go, but just take your time and enjoy the flavours, change the flavours, do what you want with them. They're just a base, you can change them up, tweak them, do what you want. Have some fun. I really hope you've enjoyed this session. I've enjoyed doing it. It's been one of the weirdest ones because I've had the doorbell go. Whether that makes it in, I do not know. We'll see if it's edited in or edited out. We've had the dog going mental. We've had various things going wrong. but I'm still here and I'm still cooking. That's the main thing. So thank you for watching. Really hope you've enjoyed it, and look out for the next one coming next week.